There is still buzz after that Ellen interview, and we're here to talk about it as well. We're gonna be talking about the news, the speculation, the rumors, and all that we already know about our favorite and arguably most powerful Avenger. So here is Iron Man 4 First Look. Let's dive right into it, shall we? The Ellen interview.
Negotiation, blah, blah, blah.
So yes.
Yeah. Okay, yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
We'll get to that.
This right here is a 6-year-old clip from RDJ on The Ellen Show where they discuss the actor's plans about starring in a new installment of Iron Man, aka Iron Man 4. The actress said that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has a lot of great movies coming up and they're working on some amazing pieces of art, but he didn't go into too much detail about the question Ellen asked him. So, unsatisfied with his rather political answer, she just asked him the same question. Seeing that Ellen was not about to let the question go, he just said yes, and this started a wildfire online. People were writing stories about how RDJ will star in an upcoming movie about Iron Man and how he has finally confirmed it. I mean, credible sites were writing articles about this, saying that the decision was official, but to be honest, you could see Robert Downey Jr. was only joking. That's exactly why 6 years later, there's not a single peep from the MCU about Iron Man 4. But the fans kept on talking, and one of the biggest fans of the movie was Joe Rogan himself. The Joe Rogan Podcast.
Here's why I love you. You're making an argument for and also the argument against me coming back and doing another Marvel picture.
Before we talk about Joe and Downey's interview, don't forget to smash that like button. It keeps the almighty YouTube algorithm happy, and you keep getting these videos for free. Joe Rogan's podcast with RDJ was one of the most watched podcasts on his channel, and they inevitably touched on the topic of Iron Man 4. And we have to say, we didn't know Joe Rogan was such a geek about Iron Man. The man prepared an entire scenario inside his head about how to bring Iron Man back. But this time, his idea didn't center around Iron Man 4 the movie, it centered around bringing Tony Stark back into the MCU. Here's the scene Rogan came up with. The MCU does a bunch of half-assed Avengers movies, and then, after a couple of years, they do one where the fate of the universe is at stake. Being in a dire need of a genius, the Avengers figure out a way on how to bring Tony Stark. The only solution would be a time machine, so they figure out a way to make the old one work. They go back in time, the camera pans towards the time machine, and the face of Tony Stark bursts through to help the Avengers fight the impending evil. Hearing the story, RDJ said that it was a decent scenario, but Joe needed to show up and do the freaking work to bring the scenario to life. Now, call us crazy, but we would completely lose our minds if we ever saw Tony Stark come back in one of the upcoming Avengers movies. But to be honest, RDJ wasn't too thrilled about the idea of making a fourth movie. He said that he thinks the fans would hate it if he came back, put on the suit, and pretend that he didn't die in the movie. The actor felt like it would be considered overdoing it, and he just didn't feel comfortable overstaying his welcome. Joe then compared this to how boxers stay in the ring and keep fighting for way too long until they're no longer relevant, which showed exactly how much Rogan understood RDJ and where he was coming from. Plus, he has also stated that Hollywood culture has never put an emphasis on people relaxing and taking a little time off. They're always encouraging and downright forcing people to keep playing a role, just so the movie studios could keep milking that giant cash cow. He feels like doing anything with Iron Man would seem just desperate, so he tries to stay away from it as much as he can. Then Joe talked about how RDJ needs to stay open to new ideas and not lock up his creative genius playing one role that will define his entire career, regardless of how good he is at it. And this is precisely what Robert was trying to tell us from the very beginning, because he wants to keep his audience wanting more. 3 Iron Man movies were more than enough for him, and he said that it would take a script miracle to bring him back on the set. He would have to come across some groundbreaking script that would make his comeback. That being said, why do we have to focus on RDJ making a comeback so that we can have a 4th Iron Man movie? Fans have made some great trailers that don't really focus on RDJ, so here are the most popular trailers. As we've already said, there are some great trailers online. The concept of the storyline fits perfectly with everything that happened so far that it makes it look like Iron Man 4 is inevitable. For example, this first trailer talks about the legacy Tony Stark leaves behind and how his daughter Morgan Stark will be taking on the mantle as Iron Man.
This is the beginning. For you.
The first and the most popular trailer that's on fire at the moment is the one where they featured Catherine Langford playing the role of Morgan Stark. After the whole fiasco with the Soul Stone scene that got cut from the movie, Catherine became a really big contender for getting the role of Iron Man. Fans were livid when they found out that a scene between Morgan aka Catherine Langford and Tony aka RDJ was cut from the movie. It showed Tony and his grown-up daughter sharing a heartwarming moment just before his passing. They pressured Marvel to include the scene in the movie, and they actually did. The version of Endgame that became available on Disney Plus kept this short scene that's full of emotion. Yeah, that's how much fans love Catherine in the role. Since she's Tony's daughter, it's only natural that she would be chosen to replace her dad, and it's not like she doesn't have the acting chops to pull it off. She held her own in Knives Out and carried an entire Netflix show on her back as a titular character on 13 Reasons Why. So, are you even surprised that the trailer, which got the most views, is centered around Catherine becoming Iron Man in Iron Man 4? We aren't.
I see his face.
What is it like to take over from Tony Stark? There's some big shoes to fill.
Number 2. This second trailer that we're about to show you follows almost the same narrative as before, but instead of just focusing on Catherine Langford and Robert Downey Jr., this fan-made trailer talks about the possibility of having Tom Holland play Spider-Man for a little mashup. And this is not a crazy stretch of the imagination. Both Catherine and Tom have played alongside RDJ, so getting two young and very talented actors to play the main characters of Iron Man 4 would be just damn cool. And here's a crazy suggestion one fan made that we thought could definitely make it into any upcoming Avengers or Iron Man movie. The guy suggested Marvel use Robert Downey Jr.'s voice as the voice of Jarvis. They don't have to revive him, which we think RDJ will like, and we would still get to at least hear his voice in all the upcoming movies.
You know, the super genius created an AI version of himself to keep the shop running. It's unclear if Tony's video message to Morgan.
CBR also suggested they turn Tony Stark into a hologram that would take on the role of Jarvis and instruct his daughter Morgan on how to deal with supervillains. In fact, this would be similar to what Jarvis is to Ironheart in the comics. And yes, this would mean that Tony created an AI version of himself before passing away. CBR also talked about the possibility of these two working on a specialized female Iron Man suit made from nanotechnology. The only problem we see with this theory is Riri Williams from the Ironheart show. But we don't see why they couldn't fit both storylines in the movie. After all, Riri is not intended to take on the mantle from Tony, just serve as another super smart girl that builds her own Iron Man suit to fight crime. On a related note, which fan movie trailer do you think has the greatest storyline that could be turned into a movie? You can tell us in the comment section below. If you'd like more videos like these, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss any of them. As always, thanks for watching, guys.